everybody, and welcome to another video-based episode of Poddywood. I am wearing a dressing gown because it's cold here, but I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and with me, as always, is...
The guy wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses because life is just cold. It's seasonal affective disorder period of the year. I've got a sad lamp. My eyes can't adjust. Just have to deal with it. Whilst my name is Andrew Roger Carson. Welcome back to another video episode.
Yes, and it makes a change that you have a sad lamp instead of what Kate usually says, that you've got a sad lump.
Well, I can't even follow that, really. I don't need to. Why don't you just keep the jokes to the guest?
Okay.
So, of course, it's around that time of year. We're in November. Halloween has just ended. But we thought, well, bit of an extenuation of that. Why don't we get our regular guest, Jonas Barnes, onto the show to come and shit on or praise some of the movies that have been out over the last couple of weeks. Jonas, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm also dealing with the seasonal affective disorder. I'm not going for Tommy Bahama chic, but I am, I'm also dealing with it myself. So I'm feeling you on that. I'm wearing my Friday the 13th shirt just to continue to rep the horror. And it is kind of funny that you said that Halloween has just ended and that we're going to shit on some movies, because that's one of them.
Oh, I can hazard a guess as to which direction this is going. Yeah, I'm guessing that the finale of this new trilogy didn't really sit too well with you then.
No, it didn't at all. So I watched it twice. I do that a lot. I'll watch a movie once, I'll see what my initial reaction is, and then I'll watch a movie twice just to be like, was my expectations too high? Did I miss something? Like, whatever the case may be. No, Halloween Ends was bad all around, and it was bad twice. Like, when I watched it a second time, I was like, no, this is actually a piece of shit. Like, this is not a good movie at all.
Which is weird, because a lot of people seem to be saying that it's quite a nice little round out to this new trilogy.
Sure, well, these people are assholes.
Yeah, the last 20 minutes is. The last 20 minutes is a fucking great wraparound. Here's the problem. I think they wrote the last 20 minutes between Laurie and Michael, and then they were like, oh, fuck, now we got to write a movie. Like, I think they were just like, because there's the first 2.5 acts of the movie. Okay, here's a good comparison. You know how Dark Knight Rises is a 2.5-hour Batman movie, and it's got Batman in it for 45 minutes?
Yes.
That's Halloween Ends, except switch out Michael Myers and Batman. So if you're having a movie that goes all the way back, a franchise that goes all the way back to the 70s, that has this big epic story between Michael and Laurie, and it goes back and forth and blah, blah, blah. Even if you take away all the canon from all the other movies and you still just bring it back to Michael and Laurie, logically, what would you do with the final conclusion to that? You would make it Michael and Laurie, right? That's logically, like, you don't even have to have a writer's room to do that. You can give a blind deaf kid like a fucking chance to write that and be like, oh yeah, Michael and Laurie for like good 90 minutes, keep it tight, we'll be fine. No, they bring in some fucking dude named Corey. Like, Corey, like
Corey Cunningham.
Yeah, like, they bring him in and then they make the movie about him. And it's weird because this dude has never existed in the franchise before. He's just some asshole that's in the beginning of the movie that has a series of unfortunate events that turns him like very Lemony Snicket, like very, very Lemony Snicket. Like, and then he turns into a psychopath. And the thing is that they did so many other things with that story that it was like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you making this some weird possession movie now too? Like, you guys shared fuck me eyes in the sewer, and then all of a sudden you're the new Michael? Like, what?
It sounds like they already did this when they did Seed of Chucky.
Seed of Chucky was 1,000 times better movie because it knew what it was.
Yeah, but it's kind of the same thing here, though, isn't it? You've all of a sudden got this new character who's then being like groomed to become the serial killer, but everyone's just going, no, get Chucky back.
Yeah,
don't care about him.
Well, the thing is with the Seed of Chucky is that because that was a horror comedy, it worked and it played with it and it had fun with it. And also, like, there was some socially conscious stuff in it. Like, there was a lot of cool shit with that one. Whereas this one, first off, it was deathly serious. Like, there was no comedic aspect to this whatsoever. And so it took itself very seriously. And except for Laurie having a couple of lines that were hilarious, but aside from that, like talking about pulling her tits out and having a party, like just while she's making breakfast. Places? Yeah, right. She literally is making breakfast and then she's telling her daughter to pull her tits out and have fun. And it's just like, all right, you're like somebody's grandma. Like, just calm down. Like, I love Jamie Lee Curtis to death. And I'm sitting here like, what did they do to you, Laurie? So you have this movie and just like, obviously it's going to be spoiled the shit out of it at this point. But the movie starts with Corey Cunningham. He accidentally kills a kid because the kid's a fucking asshole. And like, straight up, that's the reason the kid dies, is because the kid is a dick. Like, it's just, that's why. So this happens.
Accidentally,
and then,
we might.
Yeah.
He accidentally kills him.
Sure. I mean, he does. Like, he does accidentally kill him. And like,
we were all egging it on, but it was accidental for him.
Right. That was that, like, I feel like
bounces off the floor like a basketball, doesn't he?
He does. And that's actually one of the coolest scenes in the movie, which is so fucked up because it's a child death. But like, the way that it happens is like thump crack. And it's just like, oh shit, like that's the direction this movie's going in. So it gives you this little bit of hope in the beginning of the movie that it's like, oh, this is going to be a brutal ass Halloween movie. And then no, the rest of it is this weird trauma bonding thing between Laurie's granddaughter and this Corey dude. The town turns their back on Corey because he's apparently this killer psycho and blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, from the end of Halloween Kills, Michael Myers has been rotting in a sewer drain for, what was it, like, didn't they say it was like 16 years, something like that, 10 years? I don't remember. I don't remember exactly how many years, but he straight up was pulling like a fucking like Friday the 13th 8 Jason Takes Manhattan, hanging out in the sewers. Like, if they would have put toxic sludge on him, he would have been a more effective Michael Myers in this movie. So he's sitting down there. Fucking Corey Cunningham gets his ass kicked by a bunch of toughs that are just like real dickheads. Like, you know, so like sometimes they come back type of kids, and they kick the shit out of him. They throw him over an overpass. He falls into it right in front of the drainage ditch. And then Michael Myers pulls him into it. But then once he pulls him into it, he's all of a sudden back to being a pussy. Like, he doesn't do anything after he pulls him in. He just like pulls him in and then he goes and hides off into a shadow somewhere. And then you have Corey running around this sewer drain. Like, what happened? Like, what's going on? And then that part where I told you earlier where he gives him the fuck me eyes, he literally reaches through a wall, grabs him, they share a look. And then you see like the quote unquote transfer of evil between their eyes. And it's just like, dude, why are you doing all of this for this movie? Like, you could have taken everything. This is actually the most frustrating part of this movie. You could have taken everything that was happening to Corey Cunningham, take him out of the movie completely, and have that stuff happen to Laurie Strode. This is what I mean by that. Have her trauma bond with her granddaughter. Okay. Have that. Obviously, they don't fuck. That would be a much weirder movie. But like, take that part.
I don't know. The granddaughter seemed pretty game as soon as she met this guy to pretty much ride him all the way to the sequel.
And I'm sure I've seen videos like that online.
Wasn't it hilarious when they got onto the motorcycle and it became like a Top Gun movie? That was the best shit ever. Where they're just like, she's hugging him from behind, and like you're hearing Highway to the Danger Zone in the background, but whatever song it actually was, you're just like, she's gonna fuck Tom Cruise.
No, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the end of Tron Legacy.
Oh, that's
where
that's hilarious.
It's like just missing just the sun coming up.
Right. It was this weird, like, romantic thriller. It's just like, ugh, what are you doing? But they could have had that trauma bond with the granddaughter. All right, that would have worked fine. Then they could have had the town turn on Laurie, not fucking Corey. They could have had the town turn on Laurie, and she could have been the one that had this internal struggle of, am I becoming the monster, or do I kill my monster? And then you bring it over to the last 20 minutes of the third act, and you have her kill her monster. And then bada bing, bada boom, quick wrap up, good. It's like a good thing, because At the end of the day, all it was about was Michael trying to get to Laurie. That's what the whole franchise has been about. So you could have done the entire movie basically the way that it was, and you could have just had the switch around. Like, instead of having Corey go around and kill people, just have Michael get out of the fucking sewer and come over and actually kill people like Michael Myers does. Like, they just have him do it. That's his job. He's good at it. He's been good at it for 40 years. Like, let him do his thing. So you could have had that. The ending was fine. Like, it was a cool fight. Could have lasted longer. It was weird doing the funeral procession thing, though, where they were just like, what were they doing on a fucking mom station wagon of all thing? They were just like, what was that? Like, they're just like, all right, we're making a definitive statement that he's dead, and we're also going to put him in a threshing machine just to really send it home. Like, we're going to CGI his body getting crumbled up into Impossible Burger, and we're just going to go ahead and throw him out there. Like, it was just like, all right.
When I was watching the movie, I was like, this could be the greatest movie ever because Will Patton is finally going to get laid in a movie.
And he's got to go to Japan to do it. Come on, dude. Really? You got to go fuck in front of some cherry blossoms? Will, like, what are you doing, man?
No, we don't get it.
I was rooting for Will. I was rooting for Will the whole time.
I think one of the problems that the franchise has is this reliance on Laurie and Michael. And I mean, just going off your t-shirt, Friday the 13th has got this wonderful thing of, the final girl survives, but at the same time, completely new set of characters in the next one. And it doesn't matter if Jason is living or dead. Because, I mean, that's the other thing as well. Because Michael in this, if you're going off this being the same time difference from the original, he must be like about 70 years old by now.
Yeah, but he's an old dude.
He's probably using a Stairmaster or something. He has to buy incontinence pants. What happens if he needs to get, like, where's he going to the supermarket?
Yeah, I want to see the point where finally his life's mission is to kill Laurie Strode. And he kills Laurie Strode, and then he's kind of like the Terminator. Once he's like killed Sarah Connor, he's like, oh fuck. Has to go and get a job in a post office or something.
He's got to still with the mask on.
To do.
Yeah, he's got to retire out in the mountains, and he's got to help a sad family. Like, it's like, no, I'm a different Michael now. I don't even go by Michael Myers. I'm no longer the shape. I'm actually in poor shape. I've been out here in the mountains for too long. That's actually probably what he should have been doing down in the fucking sewers, instead of sitting there and rotting and getting all decrepit, which that was also a weird thing. He was very weak until he stabbed somebody again, and then it's like he got rejuvenated with this evil Viagra, and he was just like erect up, like standing up straight again, and just like, oh, I'm ready to kill bitches again. But then he doesn't. It's just like, what are you doing, man? Corey's still the one that went out and did it.
He's got murderous blue balls. That's what it was.
Dude, he was waiting to come the whole movie, and then he never got to. Laurie took it away from him. She did.
I will have to mention also here that the original Halloween stuntman passed away this past week. James Winburn.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I did see that.
Hopefully, he didn't see the movie.
I really hope he didn't.
No, that'd be the sad way. I'm hoping someone just gave him the curse of Michael Myers. Just watch this.
What's really funny about that? I bought the 4K entire Halloween collection, including the really bad ones. The Curse of Michael Myers, H2O, and Resurrection.
Which one's the one that's got Paul Rudd in it? Is that the Curse of Michael Myers? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
I saw the producer's cut of that one though, and it's exponentially better.
Really?
Yeah, but it was just like it was like a piece of shit, but it was a healthy piece of shit, as opposed to one where you look at it where you're like, I gotta go to the doctor. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was still shit, but it was just like, that's just all right. That's acceptable shit.
Oh, the sweet corn in this. There's no blood. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just salad. We're fine. But no, I saw that, and then Halloween Resurrection's still a terrible movie, but there's no funnier part in any Halloween movie than Busta Rhymes dressed up as Michael Myers, talking shit to actual Michael Myers, and like poking him in the chest and telling him to get the fuck out of Dodge. and to skedaddle. And then Michael Myers just looking at him with the head tilt, like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker later. Like, it's just, he's like, I want to kill him so bad. And then he gets martial arts at the end of it. But yeah, Halloween Ends was by far the most disappointing, shitty movie that I saw, that I wanted to see. I saw another shitty one that I didn't want to see, but I had to see it. So,
would you actually say Halloween Ends is better or worse than the Rob Zombie Halloween movies?
I would say that it's better because Rob Zombie didn't touch them. But that's the only reason. Like, here, I don't like. It's weird. I like Rob Zombie's aesthetic in his movies, but I hate that he makes every single character in his movies some sort of weird incestual killbilly. So
yeah, that just seems to be his thing. Way from like, was it House of the Thousand Maniacs?
Corpses.
Yeah,
House of a Thousand Corpses. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting my films mixed. You see, that's how easy it is. Because
Yeah.
they're all inbred serial killers, and even brought it across. Oh, right. So
it's Rob Zombie and Vince McMahon for who loves their hillbillies the most.
I think I think when it comes to Rob Zombie's Halloween movies, I can applaud him for at least trying to do a new thing with it. But then when that first one was such a bad movie, he decided to dig his heels in and double down on it for the second one. And it was just like, ugh, no, like, dude, pay attention. The first one was dog shit. What are you doing? And then he made a second one that was way worse than the first one, which is shocking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Halloween Ends was a turd, and there's no reason that it should have been. That should have been the easiest fucking franchise to wrap up properly. And then they just decided to do that. And it was just like, what are you doing? Like, were you bored? Like, what are you doing?
I wonder how long it's going to be before they come out with another reboot. Maybe even remake the original, recast Laurie, go right back to the roots. And I'm not talking about the Rob Zombie one. I'm talking, do it again, because I get the feeling it's just going to keep coming back over and over and over again. As long as they can keep making money out of this, they're going to keep sucking with it.
Well, Mustafa Akkad needs the money. I don't think he's got anything else other than Halloween in his wheelhouse.
What else is he doing? It's weird because when it comes to these franchises, like, you have all these. The thing with, like, Friday the 13th, for example, I hate the first Friday the 13th. I don't think it's a good movie. I don't like it. It's boring, and I could give two shits about Pamela Voorhees. People don't like that opinion, and that's fine. I just think she was a very boring character that just happened to be there. And then the rest of the franchise are basically all just a bunch of standalone movies with Jason Voorhees being the killer. And occasionally you have a character that shows up that's like an older character, but it's fine because Jason Voorhees is a ghost and a zombie and also an unstoppable killer and also a weird space bio thing. And like, he's fucking whatever. Like, he's just Jason Voorhees. That's fine. Yeah. So even the shittiest Friday the 13th movie is still an acceptable Friday the 13th movie because he just really, there's no rhyme or reason for Jason Voorhees. He just is.
They just exist purely by themselves. I mean, you can watch part 3, or I've got to be honest, I do have a little bit of a soft spot for part 8.
I love part 8. It's terrible, and I love it.
I do. I would have much preferred it if they just spent all the time on the ship, because I actually quite like that idea with them all being trapped like that. But yeah, you can watch any of them, even Jason X, which is just pure schlock. And you can just take every single one of them and not have to worry about continuity. You don't have to worry about, okay, are they retconning this? Are they double downing on that? You don't need to bother.
Right.
That's just what it is.
Jason X is funny because Jason X basically took memes and turned them into kills. So it was like, I'm going to beat this motherfucker with another motherfucker. And then they just did that. And it was just like, that was beautiful. Yeah. And you have those things, which are great. But also, again, Friday the 13th is one of those ones. The reason that part 8 is so crazy is because there's so many continuity flaws, but also he befriends punk rockers. He kills rapists. He has an actual fist fight with somebody, which is hilarious. Then the thought that New York just floods its subways with toxic sludge every night is hilarious. They were just like, have you been to New York? This is what happens. It's like, all right. Like,
It was
It's
the
kind of fun.
80s. Anything happened in New York in the 80s.
Right.
We've
Absolutely.
managed now to talk about my Halloween Ends for a quarter of our show. So I'm
You wanted me to
hoping.
shit on a movie, then we're shitting on a movie.
Okay. So I guess moving from there, what else have we got?
So there, the other movie that was really shitty that I'm going to spend no time on because I didn't want to see it in the first place, and I just sort of got tricked into it, was Ticket to Paradise with Julia Roberts and George Clooney, and just a fucking schmaltzy, awful, terrible romantic dramedy. Just ugh. It was every single cliche that you could possibly do in a romantic dramedy. But oh my god, it's got George Clooney and Julia Roberts. It's going to be amazing. It is not. So
It's a paycheck movie. This
big
is the
time.
this is the epitome, and I don't know who it was that actually said this, but they said, you know, you do the movie that you want to make, and then you do another movie for the paycheck that lets you then make the movie that you want to make. And that's what this is. This is okay, we're going to get two people who are now way past their prime, but they were box office draws, have done a load of romantic movies, and just get them together. And I've not even seen it, but I can already tell you beat for beat what's going to happen. And it's just going to be the same old romantic comedy bullshit that you will see in every single romantic comedy that has been made ever.
Yeah. It's one of the most paint by numbers awful like romantic dramedies ever. It was made for parents that are going on their first date for the first time in like 9 months. They were just like, I remember these actors. So yeah, it was bad. But I do want to transition over to movies that ended up being way better than they had any right to be, and I'm going to start with one that you did for sure see, Andrew. And that's Fall.
Incredible. I have never felt so nauseous watching a movie in my
Yeah,
life.
and that's a compliment because it
Yes.
was the way that this movie was filmed, um especially on a low budget, because it was a low budget movie. And here's what I found out that's kind of like cool about this movie because of what you can do with filmmaking and with technology and stuff. The movie was filmed in a studio on a tower, not a huge tower obviously, but a tower and a green screen, and also like a couple of set pieces. But for the most part, all that acting that those girls did, and all those and like there was for sure some drone camera shots and everything like that were very like for real camera shots. But the acting from them is all them reacting to something that is essentially not there. Like,
Yes.
so what they're doing with their acting is fantastic because I was sold on the peril the whole way, you know. And you said that like when I called it a white knuckler, it was one of those movies that like I think I want to say what it takes like 25 minutes or so to really get into it, but then once it's into it, it's just like holy shit. Like the whole time you're just like whoo, like you're trying to like take those deep breaths and like, are they gonna fall? Are they not gonna fall? Are they gonna hang there? Like what the hell's
Yeah.
going on? Like
Well, I had the benefit of watching this on the big screen that I've got here with the projector, and had all the lights out, and the ascent as they're going up.
yeah.
I don't think I was breathing properly because my heart rate was beating through my chest whilst this was going on. I'm like, no movie has ever made me feel this on edge. And they're only going up. The incident hasn't happened where they're stranded at the top yet.
Mm-hmm.
But
How do they get stranded at the top, by the way? Is it a ladder break or something?
Yeah.
yeah,
It's an old rickety radio tower. There are two climbers that have been like mountain climbers. And like, you know, it's got the setup in the beginning where somebody dies when she's climbing, so she's got PTSD for it and everything, and her friend
the
is an
cliffhanger
influence.
defense.
Exactly, yeah. And then her friend is like, I have to make a TikTok, so we're gonna climb this tower. Very just quick story. Just like I need more followers. They love me. We're gonna climb this thing. It's gonna get you out of your funk. Bada bing, bada boom. And then they make the ascent up this tower, which is like a 2,000-foot radio tower that's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of like Wyoming or some shit. And yeah, the camera work during the ascent is brilliant.
Yeah.
Like it's It's a phenomenal movie for what it is. Like if you like movies that are psychological horror films that are just like made of tension, like that's what this movie is. And very, very well done. Like I said, way better than it had any right to be. I walked into that one thinking it was going to be like a real paint by numbers kind of shitty movie, and it turned out to be really good.
Yeah, it was incredibly surprising for me, and I thought straight away it's a movie about a social influencer for one.
Yeah.
Someone on TikTok, which is like, I automatically want this person to fall from the top.
Yeah, please just jump. In fact, just go ahead and just jump. You'll get so many followers.
And the great thing about this movie is you instantly start feeling you're the smartest person because you're already figuring out how to get down from there before they've even thought about it.
What, so slide down it like a fireman's pole?
Well, I was basically thinking, why don't you just throw the rope down and kind of like abseil down? But they didn't do it. But
and also I don't think you could do that because of the way that the tower, because the way that the tower was both in size, like in like how big it was around, but also because of the actual, like, it's an old slick tower. So like I don't think the ropes actually would have held onto it. Like I think you just would have slid all the way down without there being any actual grip to it.
True. But what I did love about this is I was watching it and I was thinking, is that a homeless Frank Grillo? There's a guy there that you swear is Frank Grillo who looks like Frank out of Shameless, the UK version.
Listen, Frank will show up in a movie randomly sometimes. Just be like, oh shit, Frank Grillo. Like,
he's just 2 steps up of Danny Trejo. He's going to take over his mantle when Danny passes away.
Yeah, he'll just keep showing up in movies. So Fall was way better than expected, and then the other one was Smile.
Yes, I watched this the other night.
Dude, Smile was so much better than it had any right to be. That movie could have been an absolute pile of shit, and it ended up being probably one of my favorite horror movies of the year.
Yeah.
And that's in a stacked lineup of horror movies. What they did with the concept of trauma being the demon, or like, being, or like trauma bonding, or like how trauma like continues to follow you like once you've experienced it, the way they turned that into an entity is absolutely horrifying, like just as a concept. And the way they pulled it off is very, very well. And it's kind of funny because when they did the whole like, nobody survived past 7 days thing, and I was like, oh cool, you're doing the ring, awesome. But then I thought about it and I was like, think about the way that trauma works with humans. That first week when you have something traumatic happen is pure hell, like, because you're still very, very in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like if you get past that first week, it's kind of like, then it starts to ease a little bit, then you start to come to grips with things, then you start to process things. But like that first week is kind of crucial. And so when they called it when they said the 7 days thing, I was kind of like, actually that kind of makes sense, like from a psychological standpoint, that actually totally kind of makes sense. But a shout out to Kyle Gallner, who's in that movie.
Yes,
dude, this guy is like, he's a scream king. Like he's in so many different horror movies, just popping up here and there. He's been doing a bunch of them. He was in the new Scream. He's been in Jennifer's Body. He's been in, that sounded wrong, but you get what I'm trying to say. I had to like, think about that. I was like, the movie, not actually Megan Fox, as far as I'm concerned. I have no idea. Maybe he was, but he's one of those dudes that like when he shows up in a movie, he's been in many more than I just said, but when he shows up in a movie, you're like, oh shit, it's that guy. And then you remember who he is, and you're like, oh yeah, now I remember him from this. Now I remember from this. And like, he's a very good actor. Like he's like, the fact that he's not gotten a main, like a big role, like a starring role, especially in a horror movie, is kind of beyond me. Like
he's like Thomas Rosales.
Yeah. It's just like straight up, just give the dude a vehicle to work with, and I bet you he'll crush it. Like I really do. I think he would crush it. But yes, Smile was shockingly good.
And it's always
Again,
good to see Marilyn Manson get the work.
Oh,
You have to see the
crap.
movie
Was
just
he
to
in
see.
this?
He
no,
is. You've
I
got to
mean
see
he
this
is.
movie.
He yeah, his shot at the end there was real good. Um he no, it's a fantastic movie. It was, again, one of those movies that kind of came out of left field, and man, the way they did the marketing on that was really cool too. Because even though you saw like a million trailers for it, they had like people showing up in the stands of like sports games and stuff, just smiling like creeps at the camera. And to the point where news channels picked them up and they were like, look at this fucking guy. Like, it was just like, and it was one of the actors from the movie. So yeah, Smile, another one that was really way better than it had any right to be.
Yeah, both
And
Fall and Smile. I got to see this past week, and
incredible.
both incredible.
So this is where I want to get into the Cinderella story of the year. Um, Terrifier 2. So,
Hey.
You've not seen Terrifier 2, have you, Andrew?
No, I have it, but I have a feeling it's going to be something that is going to tip me over the edge if I watch it. So I might have to save it until the new year.
I've never
Okay.
even heard of Terrifier 1.
Okay, so that's the thing. So Terrifier 1 was on a shoestring budget. It was like, when I say shoestring budget, I want to say it was made for like $15,000-$20,000. Like it was very small. And it had no story. It was just this creepy ass clown shows up, chases these two girls around a city, does really creepy clown shit, but he doesn't talk. He's a mime. So everything is very physical. It has a couple of kills in it that are extremely brutal, which is kind of what put it on the map. And in the first one of the kills is somebody gets hung upside down and cut in half, bisected by a hacksaw. But because it's a low budget film, right after they cut her in half, you can tell very clearly that both halves of the body are just, foam rubber, which is kind of its charm, where it's just like, okay, like, it's a B movie, blah, blah, blah. But it got this cult following. And then the director, Damien Leone, made the second one with, I want to say at least half of the budget was funded by Indiegogo. So it was by fans. So it was fan funded. And it had a $250,000 budget,
Wow.
which, Andrew, filmmaker, that's not a lot of money. That's to make a movie. Here's the thing about the movie. It got a theater run, and it did not get a theater run in 100 theaters. It got a theater run in about 850 theaters, which respectable for this type of movie. But it was in AMC and it was in Regal, which is crazy for what this movie is. And then every week they would add theaters because it was just continuing to sell out. So all these fans were coming out to this movie and they just kept on just coming out to the movie. It made $10 million in the theaters off of a $250,000 budget. Okay. The movie is one of the most violent, just absolutely insane horror movies that I have ever seen. So if you Andrew, if you've ever seen Hatchet.
Yes.
Okay. That level of kill scenes, but it's done in a way that, with Hatchet, Victor Crowley is a giant hulking, mongoloid demon thing. Art the Clown is just a tall, skinny mime. He's a tall, skinny, fucked up mime. And so everything he's doing in this movie is completely silent. It's all facial expressions and everything. And I think what Damien Leone did is I think he said, if this is the last Terrifier movie I get to make, I'm gonna really go all out. I'm gonna really do it.
Probably for the best, because a mime is a terrible thing to waste.
How long were you sitting on that one, Steve?
About the last 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. Here's the thing about the movie. It's got actual story. The final girl in the movie, who, it's not a spoiler, she's the final girl as soon as they introduce her. Her name is Lauren Lavera. She plays Sienna. She's incredible. The acting in this is very, very good. David Howard Thornton playing Art the Clown is amazing. The kill scenes are wild. Like, they're not just like a slasher kill scene. Like, they're fucking insane. And I know you said that, Andrew, it might push you over the edge. I will tell you this about it. Once you see the first kill scene, which is before the title card even happens, you know exactly what you're getting into. And it's just like, okay. And it's also like, it's practical effects and stuff like that. So it really just is a showcase of like practical effects type of thing.
Is it worse than the sadness?
It is completely different than the sadness.
Okay.
So the sadness, here's the thing about the sadness compared to this. The sadness had stuff like sexual assault. It had stuff like these people doing really depraved, fucked up things in mass. You know what I mean? Whereas with Terrifier 2, it's one clown that's doing fucked up things to about, I don't know, roughly 7 or 8 people total. And the fucked up stuff that he's doing is very much in the vein of a slasher movie. So as opposed to the sadness, which is much more visceral and much more almost real in the sense of the type of shit that they were doing to other people. Whereas the Terrifier, it's very clearly a slasher movie. There is one kill scene that's like smack dab in the middle of the movie, though, that is insane in the sense that, like, when it starts to happen, you're like, okay, that kill scene's over. Okay, it's not done. Okay, it's still not done. Why are you still there? Like, that type of thing. And it's become like famous and memeable all over the place. Point being, it's a phenomenal movie as far as slashers go. Practical effects extravaganza. Everybody that's involved with the movie is incredible people. I've talked to a lot of them over on another goddamn horror podcast, and I've talked with them outside of that. They're very incredible people that are very passionate about horror. So to see this happen is kind of cool, not only just for horror, but also just in general for like indie filmmaking. It kind of shows theaters that, like, you don't have to be a blockbuster to be successful in a theater.
Yeah.
You know, so that's like, historically, this is kind of a historical thing, both for horror and for indie filmmaking in general, just to show like people will come out for movies if you give them something that they want to see. Like, they will do it. And also, it was an unrated movie, by the way. That is insane. The fact that it was an uncut movie that was put in 1,500 theaters in its 4th week is wild. And not like boutique theaters. AMC and Regal were like, all right, fuck it, unrated movie. Like, that doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
I love the fact that something with such a small budget and with such a small independent bent to it is doing so well. And it doesn't really matter what it is, horror films or any kind of independent cinema. And then you read something that has been in the news this week about James Cameron saying that Avatar 2 needs to make at least $2 billion in order to break even.
Yeah.
No.
I've said this before about No Time to Die, and I was wrong about that, about what that needed to break even, and it did. Avatar 2, that is an unattainable goal.
It's insane. Yeah. That's absolutely insane. Also, it's Avatar 2. Like, the first one was cool when it came out, and it was like, that was like the apex of 3D at the time too, so that was like kind of cool. But there's not a shitload of people that are asking for Avatar 2.
No. And if you have a movie making something like, I don't know, like about 40 times its budget back, that to me is a much better investment than a movie which needs to break even on such a large scale. And that's why I do think that a lot of movie studios need to kind of shift their focus to more kind of mid-tier movies, because it's much safer investment. You can experiment a lot more. You can bring in all of these really, really creative people that are otherwise outside of the industry, because you can't just pump out stuff like Avengers Endgame every other week and expect it to keep that kind of momentum, because one, you're blocking off talent. 2, you're having to spaff an awful lot of money up the wall before you even see a return. And 3, people just get tired of it. So no, I'm all
Well-
about this. I've not seen it. I probably won't see it because it doesn't really sound like it's going to float my boat too much. But I will quite happily go out there and champion the people behind it for actually getting out there and doing it.
Yes, well, I think James Cameron should take a key out of Terrified 2 book. Get Chris Jericho in your movie. You're gonna win.
It's kind of funny. We were talking. What you just brought up is a good transition to a movie that I feel like unfortunately there was no way for this movie to win. And that's Black Adam. It's
You are doomed when Black Panther is getting released right after you.
yeah, and also
And that was a strategic move by Disney because
of course
Black
it was.
Panther was supposed to come out first.
Yeah,
and as soon as Black Adam got its new release date, they mysteriously pushed it back.
Whoops, what happened? This is also, I want to bring up this about Wakanda Forever. It's a fucking great movie, but I made a joke on Facebook about it that I will repeat here. That I think it's racist that Wakanda's nemesis is a guy that swims really well. So just that was the only joke that I made about the whole movie. And what they did with Namor was weird. Not in a bad way, but they gave him a whole completely different backstory, and it was kind of cool. The movie's definitely too long, but it's a phenomenal movie. Like, especially for what they had to do to change everything, because of Chadwick Boseman's passing. They did as good of a movie as they possibly could have done. I'll say that. Like, it's a great movie. Black Adam, on the other hand, looks like every single DC movie that has come out in the last 8-9 years. Like, it's the same color palette. It's weird. The entire color palette of the movie looks like it's rust. Like, I don't know why they do that, but everything is this weird, rusty, like fool's gold look to it. And I don't know if it's like they have this one CGI filter to put on their movies and they're just like, fuck it, use it for this one too. The only thing that differentiates this between Wonder Woman 1984 is The Rock is there instead of Gal Gadot. It's the only.
And The Rock being in the movie is the only reason this film was not wiped off the Warner Brothers schedule in post-production, because they don't want to piss off Dwayne.
I wonder which one's got the best ass.
Oh, I'm gonna say Dwayne, actually, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Wonder Woman's, but I'm still gonna say Dwayne. But here's the other thing that sucked about Black Adam. They did something that DC does for their movies that's odd. I don't know why they keep on doing this, but the villain in the movie was just some fucking nameless monster. It was just a thing.
Yeah,
it was
I don't even
CGI
remember any villain in the trailers because Black Adam's not going to be the main big bad.
No, that would be amazing if he was. It turned out he was just a piece of shit the whole time. I would have loved that movie. I would have been like, that's great.
I think that was another reason why I like Shazam, is because one, I thought it was a lot more fun than both the Marvel and the DC output. But two, I love watching Mark Strong as the bad guy. He kind of still sticks in your head because you've actually got a human being as opposed to this weird CGI monstrosity or a beam falling from the sky.
Right. And also Shazam was a well-written, fun movie. Like, it had a different look, it had a different tone, it had something that differentiated it from, it kind of set it aside from the pack compared to the other DC movies, and it was a good movie. Whereas Black Adam could have been good. Like, it's the anti-hero story is not a shitty story. Like, it's a fun, good story that you can work with. Instead, they just did this. And like I said, the big bad literally is just like CGI barf at the end of it. It's just like, all right, like, we don't even know what the hell this thing is. So yeah, Black Adam sucked. But on to another good one though, The Menu.
Now I have to gauge what you say on this, and please don't give any spoilers.
I won't
for it. But the main thing is, Bill Daly is planning to go and see this tomorrow, so he's gauging what you say on whether he actually goes and sees it.
So Bill, go see the movie. It's really good. And I was kind of worried that it was going to be one of those things where they gave away too much in the trailer. and they absolutely did not. They were very, very smart about what they did with the trailer. That's all I'll really say about that. They give you something to chew on. No pun intended. With the trailer. I swear to God, there was no pun. I hate puns. I didn't do that on purpose. I'm an asshole. But it's very good. It's very good for what it is, and what it is a surprise. Like, I won't tell you where the story goes in it, but everybody involved does a great job. I'm really happy that it's one that I anticipated seeing for most of the year, because it's been coming out with trailers for a long time. It turned out to be really good.
Well, speaking of Bill Daly, I did see an article this week saying that John Leguizamo, who's in it, apparently based his character on Steven Seagal.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I think Bill might have something to say about that one. That might put him off watching it all by itself.
It's hilarious.
There are endless streams of Steven Seagal Warner Brothers stories that you will hear whenever Bill Daly is on our show.
Well, one of these days I'm going to have to be on a show with Bill Daly so that we can talk specifically about Steven Seagal.
I don't think we could air that episode, to be honest.
Well, that's going to be our special After Dark Christmas party edition, where we just bring on a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Then Rick Ravanello can tell his Steven Seagal story as well.
There's a really funny video online that's been.
I don't want to know what Two Dick Rick's Steven Seagal story is.
I'm already interested. There's a video that's been on the internet now for I would say probably at least 10 years, that is still one of the funniest 45 seconds on the internet, and it's called Steven Seagal Runs Like a Girl. That's all it is, and it's just a loop of him running in one of his first movies. I think it's like Out for Justice or something like that. I don't know, insert 3 words here, but you know what I mean. It's one of those ones, and it's just him running around a corner chasing after a crackhead, and it looks like he's starting to jump rope as he's running. So like his hands are like out to the side, and like his fingers are like pinched together, and like instead of like pumping his arms back and forth, they're like going like this, you know. So it is hilarious. It's premium Steven Seagal content. But there's a movie I'm looking forward to, actually. It's coming out, I want to say, next week. It's called Violent Night.
Yes.
Oh, David Harbour.
Talking about John Leguizamo. Yeah, that's a movie I'm really looking forward to.
I said earlier today, I saw the trailer for it yet again. I was like, I've got to see this movie. It's going to be much better than that Mel Gibson Santa Claus movie.
Oh,
but I've already forgotten. Fat Man. That's what it's called.
Yeah, Fat Man. Christmas horror is one of those weird things, because like there's some really, really good ones from way back, you know, like Black Christmas and stuff like that. And then like it has like Krampus is really good. If you watch the unrated version, especially, it's very good.
And
better watch out.
2 movies that are called Krampus though, because there's the one which came out, I think it was either last year, and that was kind of almost like a rated 12 horror movie, and it was kind of more kind of kiddie friendly. Then there's another version of the film called Krampus, which is like
direct to video cash.
Yeah, but I think that one came out first, didn't it?
Possibly, but I know the one from Legendary.
That's the one it's a horror comedy.
Yeah, was it done by the director of Trick or Treat? I think it was. Wasn't it?
I believe it was. Yeah.
That's a great movie.
There's 2 Christmas horror movies that are coming out within 2 weeks of each other. And this is going back to the Terrifier 2 thing. This actually is something that is interesting and attached to that. There's a movie that's coming out from the same director. I want to say his name is Joe Begos, or he's the one that did VFW. He's same director that did VFW. He's got a really, really gnarly looking grindhousey Christmas horror film coming out called Christmas Bloody Christmas. And it is about an animatronic Santa that goes fucking insane and starts just slaughtering a town. And it's getting a theater run. Nice. And there's no reason it should be getting a theater run based off of just the premise of the movie, because those are not the type of movies that get theater runs. This one's getting a pretty decent theater run. And I think a lot of that has to do with what's happening with Terrifier 2. they're at least taking chances on these movies, which I think is awesome. But as far as any other movies that I saw, I do want to throw this out there. So before we get towards the end of the episode, I revisited based off of a Criterion Collection sale that was happening. I bought and rewatched Videodrome.
Oh, classic.
Fuck, man, I forgot how good of a movie that was. I really did. Steve, have you seen Videodrome?
I haven't.
It's
I
in the
haven't.
box when it
I know
starts up good.
I've never been a massive fan of David Cronenberg. I'm not a kind of a body horror kind of guy. I've seen a few of his things, but no, I passed that one by.
You enjoyed The Dead Zone?
Yeah, I did, but you've got to admit that's a different kettle of fish altogether.
It's the most tamest David Cronenberg movie.
Definitely,
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like a David Cronenberg film. There's no one kind of morphing and mutating into a pile of sludge.
It's true. That is true. The thing with Videodrome is that it's first off, it's James Woods does incredible, which is not a sentence I ever thought I'd say. I don't know if you guys are friends with James Woods or anything, but I am not a fan of the man myself.
Not recently.
Definitely not recently. It's kind of funny when I rewatch Any Given Sunday and I watch his part in that movie. I'm like, oh, he wasn't acting. That's cool. But no, I was watching Videodrome again. It's an incredible movie. It is very David Cronenberg, but it's only in like small bursts. A very David Cronenberg movie. So like when the body horror stuff happens, it happens not for extended periods of time until it starts to get like into the third act. But like I wouldn't say it's a tame David Cronenberg movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's definitely not his wildest one as far as body horror goes. But the concept of the Videodrome tape doing what it does to people is just a really cool, terrifying concept. And it holds up really well.
Yeah,
it's from what, like 1983 or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely in the earlier 80s.
Yeah, and it holds up really well. What else did I see? Oh yeah, I saw Till. And
I've been interested in seeing this.
Incredible movie. And to say that I cried would be an understatement. Like it is a gut-wrenching movie. But it's so well done. Like to me, it's one of those movies that you absolutely should watch if you get the chance. It is beautiful film. Absolutely beautiful film.
Well, there's two films I want to pull up for you here that I know you have seen. The first one being The Woman King.
Yeah. Woman King was great. That was one that I kind of like, I was anticipating because I'd seen a lot of trailers for it. I didn't really know what it was going to be. I didn't know what the direction they were going to go with it was. Viola Davis is incredible. And as an actress, I've seen her in so many different things. Like she's one of those actresses that can kind of pull off any part that they give her, even in a shitty movie. She'll still pull off a great part.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it's no different. Like the movie itself is good, but her performance in this movie is so powerful. Like she's just absolutely commands the screen every second that she's on there. And it's kind of like, it's like Black Panther, but if it was based in reality.
Yes.
If you get what I'm saying, like, yeah, it's a phenomenal movie. Couldn't recommend it enough.
And then obviously the big one, the last time we had you on the show, you said you were about to go and see this movie and you were really looking forward to it. And now you have seen it. The world has seen it. I have never seen such an outpouring of praise for this movie, and it is Barbarian.
Yeah, dude. Barbarian has so much cool stuff going for it. First off, it's a first-time director. The director is a sketch
Hollywood.
comedian.
It does happen.
It does. And also, he's a sketch comic. He's from the sketch comedy group, The Whitest Kids You Know. His name is Zach Kreger. So if you've ever seen The Whitest Kids You Know, there's no fucking way that you would think that one of those guys would make this movie. Like that, The Whitest Kids You Know is hilarious, but it is dark. Like it's a dark but very funny sketch group that used to be on IFC way back when. and it's great, but to think that he made this movie is kind of shocking.
Is it kind of like along the same level of like Jordan Peele suddenly coming out with Get Out?
Yeah, it kind of is.
Jordan Peele had a bit of a hand in helping Zach Cregger with this movie, from what I hear.
Yeah, a little bit. So here's that's interesting. Let's talk about Jordan Peele really quick. His movies, or a movie that he has his hands on, you can always tell is a Jordan Peele movie. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like whether it's coming from his production company or whether he's the director or producer or whatever, there's always a look or a feel to it where you're like, oh, that's a Jordan Peele, property or whatever. This movie doesn't have any of that feel to it or any of that look to it. But there's so many cool things that happen during this movie, like as far as like plot twists and like the way the tone shifts in the movie, like three very specific times. Like there's a complete tonal shift that works way better than it should. Like when Justin Long's character gets introduced to the movie, it's a tonal shift that goes from like harrowing, like pure fear, to Justin Long driving in a fucking convertible down, down a beachside highway, talking to his publicist about something that happened, and he's listening to like 80s music. Like it goes from like this harrowing thing to like almost a joyous drive, to introduce his character. And at first the tonal shift is like, what the fuck just happened? This is a different movie now, like what are we doing? And then the way that it all wraps up is like beautiful. It's perfectly wrapped up. Steve, you obviously have not seen Barbarian.
I haven't, but I've got the one of the pages up now. I see he's got a Skarsgård in it.
It does. It
We're-
does.
we're-
It does.
They're taking over fucking Hollywood.
Well, not only that, I was amazed when I posted that we were going to be talking about Barbarian. And an actress friend of mine by the name of Kate Nichols, who I've known for many years, who I initially first met out in LA, she messaged me and saying, "Oh, if you're watching Barbarian, I had a small role in it." And she plays Catherine, who's the documentary filmmaker in the movie. And she is phenomenal. It was so great to see her on screen. And everyone out there, you can go and check her IMDb and see her show reel and tell it this is going to be one of the best actresses you're ever going to see. Her range is incredible.
And her part that she had in the movie, I mean, it was small, but it also was like she did really good with that part, because just her little part that she had to show a couple of different emotional ranges, just like in it alone. And like her exit from the scene is also a cool, like, it's kind of integral to the storyline too. Because if you haven't seen Barbarian, it's about a woman that goes to an Airbnb. I think they're like outside of Detroit. And she goes to an Airbnb, and when she gets there, there's somebody already in the Airbnb that has also rented it. And they decide to share it just for the night because she's there for a job interview, to meet with your friend. And then shit goes wild. Now in the trailer, it shows a lot of stuff that is really just from the first act of the movie.
Yes.
And that's kind of ingenious, because the way that everything wraps around from that first act of the movie is also kind of genius. So the fact that they just showed that stuff in the trailer to hook you was perfect.
They pulled an Endgame.
They did. They
Yeah.
did pull an Endgame, actually.
And in this, it pays off so well.
Yeah.
There is genuinely some moments in this movie that proper had me in shock.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few. And also like Richard Brake shows up in it. He's becoming he's becoming a Danny Trejo, and I love it. Every time Richard Brake shows up in a movie, I'm like, two things are gonna happen. A, he's gonna do great, and B, he's gonna be a scumbag. Like,
he's the guy from Doom.
Doom.
Yeah.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, he's a fucking dude. He's in so many movies, and every time he's an asshole, and it's great. Like every time. He was in the Munsters movie, which is the last time I'll mention that movie.
We're back to
was in
Rob
it.
Zombie again, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Talk about taking a neon shit on your childhood.
Rock
but,
stars, stop making movies.
dude,
I'm
this
talking
is
to you, Trent Reznor, as well. God's sake.
yeah. Rob, stop making Nosferatu do TikTok dances in your movie, you asshole. Yeah, so Barbarian is incredible. Barbarian, it's really like hard for me to say what the best movie of the year is so far because Barbarian and Smile go back and forth for me. Terrifier 2 is its own thing. For me, Terrifier 2 is the best movie of the year for multiple different reasons, but that's for like, a lot of it is because also the Cinderella story aspect of it and just what they were able to do with that movie and the impact that I think it's going to have on theatrical filmmaking. But like, it's a three-way tie between Smile, Barbarian, and Terrifier 2 for me. Like, Barbarian is such a good movie for the type of horror film that it is, because it's equal parts funny and tense and shocking, and it's paced perfectly. The acting is incredible. There's not really anything bad to say about it.
And we're not even done with the year yet. We still have another whole month of movies that is looking really promising. We've got Nanny coming out, which I'm really looking forward to see. That gets released on December 16th. We also have the obvious Top Gun knockoff of Devotion, which had the pure cheek to not only feature one of the stars of Top Gun Maverick, but also in its first ever trailer, completely rip off the Top Gun Maverick trailer.
Jesus.
We have Glass Onion, the Knives Out mystery.
Oh, I did see that, and it's
you've
awesome.
seen it already?
Yeah, it came out. It came out for a 1 week, 1 week theater release before the major release. And if you like Knives Out, you're gonna fucking love this one. So it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's better than Knives Out, actually.
Issues with Ryan Johnson.
God's sake. It's time to let it go, Steve. Let it go.
Never gonna let it go.
I don't know what in The Last Jedi you're talking about.
Also of interest, the Fablemans, obviously. I think is that out now as of
it is, and it has had no advertisement.
Yeah. No, not at all.
No.
White Noise with Adam Driver is about to come out, which looks really funny.
All right.
Really interesting. So that might be one to check out. And kind of going through the list here of what
we said, Violent Night's coming out next week.
Yes. Did you see Pray for the Devil?
Yeah, I did.
You've got to end on this one, Jonas, because I knew you were not gonna like this movie.
No. That was a movie I waited for a long time too.
Come on, expel that pain, Jonas.
Okay,
expel it.
Okay. You've got 10 minutes left. Knock yourself out.
Pray for the devil. Pray for the devil. Here's first something to mention. I like possession movies. I like exorcism movies. I like even some of the shitty ones. And I think that's not everybody's cup of tea. Like I liked The Conjuring. I like The Conjuring 2. I didn't like The Conjuring 3 as much, but I liked a lot of things about The Conjuring 3. I think the Warrens are two of the worst people ever to walk on this face of the earth. But
total bullshit artists.
Yeah, just absolute cunts. But the movies were good for what they were. And going all the way back, The Exorcist was probably my favorite movie until I saw The Exorcist 3, and then that was my favorite one, which is another hot take. I think it's a better movie than the original.
Why? What about The Exorcist 2?
Did that movie happen? I don't know. I think I must have.
That's heresy. That is heresy.
No, that was number 4.
No, literally number 2 was heresy. The heretic. So Pray for the Devil had trailers for 6-7 months almost. Like it just kept on just trailer after trailer after trailer, and it made it look pretty cool. Like it made it look like a really interesting exorcism movie.
It's like Agnes of God, but with the devil.
Yeah, like honestly, here's the thing with it. It's like the thing that they played with the whole female exorcist thing. Like they played with the whole, chauvinism, feminism aspect of it, the whole gender identity of exorcists and priests and stuff like that. They played with that. That was kind of a cool concept to play with. They completely fucked the dog on it, but they tried. They tried to do that. They tried to do something new with the exorcism genre. The problem is that they showed everything that was even remotely interesting in the trailer, and the movie was one of the most boring, paint by numbers, just absolutely phoned in. Could have looked at like just the beginner's guide to an exorcist movie and done that. Like it, everything that they put on screen has either been done before or is something that is so derivative that it shouldn't have been done before. Like there was nothing about it that was original or unique at all, and everything that looked like it was going to be cool in the trailers. This is the other thing. There was half the parts in the trailers didn't even happen in the movie. Like it was, the movie was recut and they took out cool parts to put in shittier parts. Like I don't know why they did that at all. The CGI is atrocious. The CGI is some of the worst CGI that I've ever seen. And I already talked about Black Adam earlier. This is so much worse CGI. The stuff that they were doing with like the little girl, Andrew, did you see it?
I tried not to, but
Okay, good.
I did accidentally like witness it.
Oh,
That's all
I'm
I can
so
say.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's basically it's like it may have supplanted Lost Souls as the worst exorcism movie I've ever seen.
The worst exorcism movie I've ever seen is actually we're not even going to consider Exorcist 2. It's the one with Eric Bana, The
Oh,
Devil
is
Inside.
yeah, the one which doesn't have an ending.
Yeah,
Oh,
that one was.
Deliver Us from Evil.
Yeah, I fucking hated that movie so much.
Oh, it's poor Scott.
Oh,
Poor Scott Derrickson. He didn't deserve
oh.
that hate.
I love Scott Derrickson. I absolutely adore Scott Derrickson, and I don't think that what he did with that movie was anything bad. He didn't write the movie. I hope not, because that's where all of my problems are with that movie. The direction was great. It was a beautiful looking movie, but you can only put so many filters on a turd before you realize that it's still a turd. So,
Yeah, like the last Exorcism Part 2.
oof, yeah, that's another awful, awful one. The Devil Inside. There's another terrible one. That one actually might be the worst. I think that one's the worst.
That's we'd erased that one from it. We'd expelled the demon of that movie, but
as soon as that escaped my lips, I was like, that's the worst one. I can taste it. Like, is that's onion and ketchup? Yeah, I can taste that.
Repossessed.
You can taste the devil inside.
Ugh. But no, Pray for the Devil was horrible. It was it was, especially for a movie that I've been anticipating for 6 or 7 months. I was like, this is at least going to be fun. It was the opposite of fun. Like I was actually disappointed and angry when I walked out of the theater. I was like, what the fuck did I just watch? And every time the little girl would come on the screen and you would see her quote unquote possession happening, like the stuff that was happening with her face was, like I said, it was some of the worst CGI that I have ever seen. And I don't know how it went through post production, and nobody was just like, that looks like actual shit. That looks unfinished. Like, what are you doing? Um, and like all the things that they were gonna do that were gonna be cool, like when the actual exorcist lady herself. I've forgotten the names of all of the characters of this movie. That's how much
Probably
I hated
for
it.
the best.
All the things that were happening to her had the potential to be cool, and then they only happened for like 3 seconds, and it was just like, oh, so now we're back to the same exact exorcism movie bullshit that we've seen in every single exorcism movie.
I was going on, I think it was going to either IKEA or B&Q, which is kind of like it's like a Lowe's. It's a home improvement kind of place with my
Like a
my
Home
girlfriend.
Depot kind of place.
Home
Yeah.
Depot, that kind of thing. and we're looking for new kitchen stuff, and we're driving around this big roundabout, and there was a bus there, and there was a sign on the back side of the bus. We said pray for the devil, and my partner Amanda, she went, oh, what's that about? And so okay, I went on, pulled up the details, showed her the trailer, and she just went, oh.
Yeah.
And that was just from the trailer.
It has been on quite a few buses. I remember when Bill was over here in Manchester, it was all over the buses, and he was like,
Dude, there was so much marketing for it. There was so much. And then it kept on getting pushed. The release date kept on getting pushed up or pushed back.
So it's the bad sign.
Yeah, it's never good. Never good. Whereas like the new Scream keeps on getting moved up. So I don't know, like maybe the new Scream could be good. That's coming out in like March. Like they really streamlined that one. And that's going to be Scream in New York City, which I'm all about.
Yeah, but they did the same with Scream 2. That was like the year after Scream came out. You know,
real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, it was practically on doorstep, and it was a great sequel too. You know, it was
fantastic,
on a par. And then we had Scream 3, and we were like,
yeah, but it's not necessarily a sign of quality though, because they kind of rushed through. What was it, Blair Witch 2, Book of Shadows? that got rushed through really soon after.
What was the studio that did Blair Witch 2? Was it
probably Lionsgate?
I think it was Lionsgate.
I think it was a very early Lionsgate. I think it got released. I know it was Artisan, wasn't it? I think it was.
It might have been Artisan. Yeah.
Entertainment in Video. Yeah.
So I think I want to end on this though. Rather than shitting all over Pray for the Devil and leaving the bad taste in the mouth, I want to end on this. If you've not seen the Chucky TV series, you should watch it.
Is there a TV series?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a whole TV series. Good. It's very good. And the second season is really, really good. Which
featuring Liv Morgan, by the way.
Yeah. And I did not expect the second season to be that good. Like I expected it to be kind of a, again, a Cinderella story of being the first season good, and then the second season I figured it would probably, fall off a little bit. And it has not fallen off in any way. And I love that Liv Morgan got her little horror movie bucket list moment in that. She did great. She did great in it.
Yeah, to be honest, the last Child's Play movie that came out, was it Mark Hamill who was voicing Chucky in it?
Yeah.
It was the remake.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad.
No, it was good for what it was.
It was good. And Aubrey Plaza is just, she's phenomenal in anything she's in. She can just be Aubrey Plaza.
Yeah. Between all of us and anybody that listens to this episode, Aubrey Plaza is probably my favorite person that I've never met. And you know what I mean? Like every time I see her do anything in a movie or an interview or anything, I'm like, she seems like the coolest hang ever. Like just for a day to hang out with her seems like the coolest shit ever. And of course, there is also the aspect of that she's absolutely gorgeous. But aside from that, like just her personality and who she is, she seems like she would be the funniest and like just the coolest person to hang out with ever. And one of my
unless your name is Michael Cera.
That is an accurate statement.
If you have seen that red carpet moment where he tries to put his arm around her, and right, Aubrey Plaza's reaction, it's like the most awkward moment where it was like, oh god, I would not want to be Michael Cera at this moment.
Complete shutdown. One of her most recent movies, I think it's her most recent movie actually, Emily the Criminal, is incredible.
It's amazing.
So good.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, absolutely good movie. And it's her pulling like a rare, fully serious part, and she does like way better. Again, I'm an unapologetic fanboy of hers, and she did way better than I expected. And it's a phenomenal movie. And that Child's Play remake was a literal reimagining in present day time. And for that, like for what it is, that made perfect sense. Like, especially if you're not going to make a franchise that has to do with the whole possession angle, and you just make him, AI, that's gone fucking crazy, sure, like that's a very passable remake of the movie. But yeah, the Chucky's series is really good. And like Steve, there's a part in the first season. This is not a spoiler in any way. But somebody mentions him being okay with homosexuality, and he was like, I have a gay kid. He goes, I'm not a monster. Like, like, and it's hilarious. Like, that type of thing is fucking hilarious. And it's like that kind of a vein throughout the series, where he's got this evil sense of humor along with him. But yeah, he's like, I have a gay son. I'm not a monster.
So is Brad Dourif back for this then?
I don't. Brad Dourif has a little bit to do with stuff, but here's the thing: Fiona Dourif has a lot more to do with it, and that's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's hoping he's going to be as good as Ash versus Evil Dead, which I really enjoyed. So if it can capture some of the humor, particularly the later movies, then I'm probably going to have to check that out soon.
Are you guys anticipating Evil Dead Rise, by the way?
I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if it's gonna suck, it's more Evil Dead, so I'm all about that.
It's Evil Dead in a high rise. That's gonna be amazing.
Yes. Worked for Poltergeist. So before we sign off on here, Jonas, upcoming movies that you're really looking forward to over the next month before we have you back on.
Definitely looking forward to both of the Christmas horrors that I was talking about, Violent by Night and Christmas Bloody Christmas. Definitely looking forward to those. I'm looking forward to the Wednesday Netflix series,
which is out now. I think one of my kids was watching it before.
I think it just dropped today, actually. Yeah, I think it just dropped today or yesterday. So definitely looking forward to watching that. To be honest with you, I haven't looked to see everything that's coming out in December. But out of the ones that it's kind of funny because I actually do want to see Devotion. I don't think it's going to be good, but but I do want to see it.
Can all wait for Will Smith's return to movies in Emancipation.
Will. Big Willie Style has not had a good movie in a while. Gemini Man was just.
Yeah. I didn't mind it. I was just kind of, it was there, it was on.
I liked it better when it was called Double Impact with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But yeah, December, I don't know. December is going to be an interesting one because December, I think I'm actually going to be seeing a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out on Shudder. Because Shudder's been having some real good stuff that's been coming out.
Can we kind of raise the fact here that Martin Lawrence is doing a serious horror thriller role in a movie called Mind Cage?
Yeah, and he's doing it opposite John Malkovich.
Like Martin Lawrence playing a serious straight role for what probably is the first time in his entire career.
He's playing Clarice Starling. Like, that's what he's doing. Like, but also, if he pulls that off when he's acting opposite John Malkovich, I'm gonna be shocked, but also I'm gonna be really happy for him because just based off the trailer, Malkovich is gonna eat up the screen on this one.
Yeah, he usually does.
Yeah, and it's got a very Hannibal Lecter vibe in that sense too. Like, he's got a very Hannibal Lecter-esque vibe to him, and that is coming out in December, isn't it?
It is, and
I'm actually looking forward to that one.
To go in line with our last video episode, Steve, where we had with Bill, where we mentioned that The Bodyguard was the big Christmas movie of 1992. 2022, the Whitney Houston biopic, I Want to Dance with Somebody, is released right smack in Christmas week.
Yay.
So that know it's going to be a hit.
That one I'm cautiously optimistic about. I don't know. It's not been getting the type of coverage that I was hoping that it would. Like, I feel like if they're going to do a Whitney Houston biopic, especially one that would be high quality, I would be hearing a lot more about it than I am.
That's a very good point.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's a good point to end on. Right.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
I am looking forward to it. So I will say that I am looking forward to it, and my fingers are crossed that it's good.
All right, Jonas,
they handle it
it's
well.
been great having you on again, as always.
I always love coming on. Always love to be on here, guys.
So, what have you got coming up at the moment that everyone should be keeping an eye out for?
We're done with doing shows in Brooklyn for the Traumedy Hour, the live show. We're done with those till the end of the year just because of holidays and stuff. But we have some really cool stuff coming up on Another Goddamn Horror podcast. We're going to be doing some year-end awards for the show, and we're calling them the Danzigs because we all unapologetically love that demonic cat father. So we're doing that. And also we're going to be doing an interview soon with a horror icon and cult film legend, Bill Oberhurst Jr.
Nice.
We're going to be doing an interview with him soon. And that actually should be probably coming out, I want to say. We're going to be filming that one, recording that one here real soon. And I'm really looking forward to that because he's one of those dudes that, like, if you know who he is, you know how good of an actor he is. And he picks stuff that is just obscure and crazy, which I really like. So yeah, we got that coming up. And you can always find Another Goddamn Horror podcast on our link tree, which is linktr.ee/AGHP666. So that's our big stuff coming up. So
cool.
Sweet.
And hopefully we are going to see you for our Poddywood Christmas party. We're basically going to all come online, all have a drink for the Christmas period, and we'll have a few special of our former guests will drop by as well, just to come and chat shit, I guess.
Yeah.
Festive season.
Yeah, there's not really going to be much of a schedule or an agenda for that one. It's just going to be, yes, come along, let's just have a few drinks. All right.
If you've ever heard our After Dark episodes, which I think you can find out there somewhere, Steve, on the premium bits.
I think they're still on the Patreon. I've not put them up.
The Patreon, yeah. So yeah, our Patreon episodes were very fun because it was me and Steve in a jazz bar setting, basically just throwing as many swear words as we can into our various topics that we're doing whilst getting drunk.
Yeah,
beautiful. I can be the sober one that watches you guys just get absolutely shit hammered, and I can watch along.
I think we cracked the alcohol out for the second Warner Brothers in '92 episode because me and Bill were on whiskey and you were on Dry November,
which has since passed, and now I've been drinking a bottle of Chardonnay, which has a what are they called? I want to say a kookaburra, but that's not it. What are they called?
I'll go with kookaburra.
Yeah.
I can't.
Also, Steve, you can't get shit faced on Chardonnay. You can't do that. Don't you dare.
Don't test me because I will find a way. Right. Well, thank you very much yet again for coming on. If you've liked what you've heard / seen, then you can join in the discussion on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Poddywood. You can find us on Twitter @Poddywood. That is if Elon Musk hasn't imploded the whole thing in the interim. You can also find us on Reddit at r/Poddywood, or you can, I don't know, set up a Morse code system somewhere and try and see if you can fire some lines through to us. I don't know.
And our biggest following so far is on LinkedIn, where we have officially hit 510 followers, including Uwerball.
Oh, man.
Oh, no. I've got to be nice now. Shit.
No, if you hear some back episodes, then you're talking about video game conversions. I think you were probably the nicest you've ever been.
Listen, you know what? I will say this before you wrap this up. Uwerball is one of the worst filmmakers I've ever seen, but I also really, 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 really want to pick his brain about all of the abortions that he's done. Movies, I'm sorry. That
Right.
was autocorrect. Whatever you want to
Yes.
call it. But
So Uwe, if you've watched this episode, because you see when I post them out, and if you have watched it, then we want to get you on. In fact, we'll bring you on as the fourth guest for 1 week so we can all fire these questions at you.
oh, dude.
And you don't have to fight us.
No, and I'll mean it with love. I won't even talk shit to him. I'll just be like, "What are you doing?" Like,
I will. I'll be like, what the fuck happened to Alone in the Dark? Right. So
2.
poor Christian Slater. With that in mind, it is a goodbye from Jonas Barnes.
goodbye.
And it is a goodbye from myself. Thank you very much for joining us yet again.
And finally, it's a goodbye from me. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.